Anyone know who this is? Yeah. She did a famous fraud in Silicon Valley. She raised hundreds of millions, $1 billion or something. You guys can Google it. She raised a lot of money, and it turns out her product never worked, and she knew it. She was a total fraud, okay? Cheating and corruption, it's not just for Ukraine, guys. There's lots of it in the USA too. Lots of it. Reputation is more important than money. And I want to say this again. Reputation is more important than money. A lot of people have fucked me over or cheated me in my 24 years. But you know what? As much as I wanted to cheat them back or hurt them, I just went about my business because one of my mentors taught me an important lesson. Reputation is more important than money, okay? The other thing is, I want us to understand the rules of the game we want to play. Some of you want to go work at a big outsourcer. Some of you want to work at an American product company. Some of you want to do a startup. They're all different rules. And they're all just games. But you got to understand the rules of the game you want to play. And I get this a lot. I get this a lot. John, I see you're friends with the partner at Y-Combinator. Will you please tell them to accept my startup? And I say, Yuri, it doesn't work like that in California. We are a merit, achievement-based system, not a corruption-based system. But Yuri is thinking, no, 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 no. It works just like it does here in Ukraine. Everything's about corruption and who you know. So please, tell your friend at Y-Combinator to accept me. And I say, it doesn't work like that. But Yuri can't fathom that. So he says, okay, you say we have corruption-based system, but you have corruption-based system too. You have Trump. You're saying Trump's not corrupt? I say, I don't know. I don't know Trump. But I can't recommend a startup that I don't know anything about. And I can't recommend a founder, even though you're from KPI, if I know that you don't even want to take time to learn the rules of the game. So what does old school Soviet Yuri say? Fine, forget it. Fucking asshole foreigner. But what if we said this? It doesn't cost us any more grivnas to say this versus this. John, I've got a startup idea, but I don't know if it has product market fit. I don't know if it's a good idea. Will you meet with me so you can just listen to my idea? Sure, Yuri. What's the idea? Well, I remember that you gave a speech about how to pitch. So when I was taking notes, I took notes, I studied my notes, and I formatted my pitch around what I learned from you and wrote down in my notes. Wow, Yuri, that sounds amazing. All right, lay it on me. What's the idea? John, I spent 8 years working in FIVN, and I saw how inefficient our back office systems were because we have 5 different software applications. They don't speak to each other. So lots of people have to do work on paper. I did some calculation, and I calculated if we could build a middleware software layer with some APIs, we could help FIVN and lots of other banks like Privat save millions of dollars a year. And I estimate if we could help all of the banks like FIVN, this is a $12 billion market. Wow! I want to invest in that. This person's going to raise money. This person's going to think I'm racist towards Ukrainians. This is another thing, and I think this comes from post-communist or communist culture, and we need to get away from this. We always want to be adding value first. Too many people come up to me and say, John, will you help me? I'm like, who the fuck are you? Ah, I'm Andre. I've got a great idea. I work at outsourcing company, but we're building new product. John, will you help me? You always want to be demonstrating value, and you understand that relationships are a two-way street. It's quid pro quo. This for that. And this isn't just in business. This is in relationships, diplomacy, anything. Quid pro quo. There's too much of a legacy of Soviet culture where you expect someone to give you something. But there's a new world. No one's giving you shit. Provide something of value and expect something of value. Too many times I help someone, and then when I ask for their help, they're like, oh, I would love to help you for $5,000. Quid pro quo. Understand this. When you ask someone for help, the best way to get help is to offer something else of value. Okay? And that could be something as simple as, hey, could I get a job interview? I love your startup. By the way, I love your startup so much, I started using the free version of your software and I found a bug. I found a better way to get to function 12. I saved you 3 clicks. Demonstrate value before you ask for something. Rules of professional conduct. I said this before, but I'll say it again because it's important. Tell the truth, even though it's going to hurt you. If you lie, people are going to find out eventually, right? Tell the truth, even if it's going to hurt you. Don't exaggerate the truth. People are smarter than you think and know that reputation is more important than money. There is another thing going on here, and I see it more the farther east you go, right? I see this in older school Russian culture. The young people from Russia, much different. But the older generation, you still see a little bit of this. Take your sunglasses. I see a lot of what I call BBM syndrome. BBM stands for Big Boss Man. And I see this a lot, and it looks like this. Someone has a meeting with me. They walk into the room like this. Привет, John. I read your TechCrunch articles. I like you. I like you, okay? I know lots of people here in Ukraine. I've got a very, very big, important idea. But I like you. Maybe I let you invest. I used to work at a bank after I graduated from university. And I had a very simple job at this bank. I would sit behind this counter, and people would walk up to me and deposit their checks. And I noticed something. The people that had $100,000 in their bank account, they would come and complain. I have $100,000 with your bank, and you made me wait in line for 5 minutes. That's unacceptable. But the people with 10 million were really nice. They would come and say, wow, you guys must be really busy today. You guys okay? Oh, great, okay. Here's my check. And I'd look at their bank account. I'd think, wow, you got $10 million. If you act like a big boss man, the people with real money and real power will think you're a jackass. And I see this too much, even in young people. This big boss man syndrome. Someone owns a 50-person outsourcing company, has a meeting with me, acting like they're king of Ukraine. Fuck BBM syndrome. There's always someone smarter, better looking, more charismatic, more funny, better connected, more knowledgeable, richer than you. Fuck BBM syndrome. The people with real money and real power don't act like that. And they'll know that you're just a fool. Always try to meet deadlines. That's another thing that I think is a common source of outsourcing companies and offshore projects. Nothing great comes from 40 hours a week. So lots of deadlines are missed. Try not to miss the deadlines by knowing which Saturdays to work. Comment your fucking code like an adult. Comment your fucking code like an adult. You know, they say women ask for help more than men. So when women get lost driving, they'll ask someone for help. But we men, we'll make 3 right turns, get to the same place and be like, fuck! Ask for help. It's easy, and it saves you a lot of time. It's a little bit of your pride, but ask for help. I still have a problem asking for help, but I need to take my own advice. The other thing too is, and I see this a lot because my wife is very beautiful. So when she came to San Francisco, a lot of lonely boys would come and try to impress her. And in San Francisco, there's lots of new startups, right? And lots of CEOs of new startups. They haven't done shit yet, but they've got a big idea and big plans and a grand vision. So I'm a very curious person. I love listening to conversations. So I just listen, right? And a lot of guys approach her and talk to her about their future ideas, right? And they say, oh, hi, what's your name? Oh, Elizaveta. Wow, Elizaveta, that's an interesting name. Where are you from? I'm from Ukraine. Ukraine, wow, really? Since you didn't ask, let me tell you all about my company. It's a multi-distributed, fault-tolerant back-end architecture. It's not a big deal. We're going to revolutionize the world, probably get bought by Google for $100 million. But I don't like to talk about money. And she's not impressed. No one gives a fuck about your future ideas. They only care about your past accomplishments. And to have past accomplishments, we know nothing great comes from 40 hours a week. No one gives a fuck about your future ideas. There's too many people with BBM syndrome about their future ideas. And this is so bad in San Francisco. So many BBMs with future ideas. There were shit. No one gives a fuck about you, your BBM, or your future idea. They only care about your past accomplishments. And as we know, you can't have much past accomplishments on 40 hours a week. The other thing too I've noticed, and I don't know why, but I've noticed in 24 years, I've hired lots of people, right? I've hired lots of different ethnicities, gay, straight, white, Asian, and it's not about race, sexual orientation. It's not about any of that. It's not about rich or poor family. It's about habits. Habits predict success. And I've noticed the different habits of people who just end up working till they die and people who are successful enough so that when they're my age, they have enough choice to do whatever the fuck they want. They're free versus people who are basically enslaved to their job and their mortgage payment. Successful people say this word a lot, this phrase. They say, it's my fault. I know I was working with Yuri. Yuri's the one that fucked up, but we spent a lot of time together. I should have caught Yuri's mistake. It's my fault. Successful people say this a lot. It's my fault. Unsuccessful people say this a lot. That's not fair. It's not my fault. Successful people, I don't know why, they say, it's my fault. I'll take accountability. I don't know why. It's just the habits of successful people.